Welcome to Let's Get Into It. I am your host, Sherelle Higgins. Let's Get Into It is a safe space to have real conversations that are meant to uplift, encourage, and let you know you are not the only one dealing with life. Each episode of Let's Get Into It is designed to provide illuminating and thought-provoking information on a variety of topics. In fact, no topic is off limit. If you would like to see a topic discussed, please feel free to make a recommendation. My special guest and I will have a great time discussing topics that the mainstream media wouldn't dare discuss. We will bring these conversations to you with an open mind, respectfully, from different perspectives, and most importantly, with love. Thank you for joining me and my special guest. Now, let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Let's Get Into It. I am your host, Sherelle Higgins, and I feel so blessed to be able to continue the conversation from last episode's topic. Last episode, I had the honor and the pleasure to talk to my special guest, Cookie, and she was gracious enough to share her journey with her husband concerning prostate cancer. And unfortunately, her husband succumbed to the diagnosis of prostate cancer and passed away last year. Our condolences continue to go with Cookie and her family, and we pray that each day gets better for you. I know it will never be able to replace Noah, but we certainly hope that you can find some peace in all that you have gone through. I hope everyone had a great Mother's Day. Mother's Day was great for me. I hope you had a great Mother's Day as well. Also, as a reminder, May is Mental Health Month. And in Mental Health Month, we need to really do some self checking, and we need to make sure that we have our own mental health in check. And so typically life is going to throw things our way. And as life throws things our way, it can sometimes impact our mental health. And so it is so important that we self check and just check in with ourselves to see how we're doing. Again, I want to remind you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have put the link in the comment section. It is also listed on the screen. Log into YouTube and click that subscribe button. I certainly will appreciate it. I am also honored to bring you today my special guest. My special guest has a journey of his own, and I am so pleased that he has agreed to allow me to ask him questions about his journey. My guest today is Reverend Dr. Ira Credle, and Ira was born and you need to make sure you say this correctly. He was born and raised in historic New Bern, James City community, North Carolina. You got to say that part right. With his mother, Miss Rebecca, and four brothers. In 1979, he enrolled in Elon College, now Elon University, and he is Mr. Elon himself. Elon is near Burlington, North Carolina, and when he enrolled there, he was a history major and participated in the Reserve Officer Training Corps, the ROTC. In 1983, he earned his bachelor's degree and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army. Thank you for your service. He served as an Army officer for 20 years. Ike has a master's degree in administration from Central Michigan University and a doctor of education in organizational leadership with emphasis in Christian ministry from Grand Canyon University. He was also elected by the chapter at Elon University as an alumni member of the Honor Society of Phi Kappa Phi. Dr. Cradle retired from the federal service on my birthday last year, April 30th, 2023. Yes, I have to make some of this about me. Dr. is married to the fabulous Dr. Sharon Cradle, my sister, for more than 25 years. Ike is the proud father of his baby girl, Alyssa Cradle, and also the proud grandfather of his 3-year-old grandson, Ryan, also known as his main man. He is a
Absolutely.
life member of, as you can tell, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. He is also the former chaplain of Lambda Gamma Gamma Chapter, Fort Meade, Maryland. He accepted his calling into the ministry in 2008 and was issued a license to preach the gospel in November of 2011. And if you missed his first sermon, you missed something great, because he told us all about that gold card that you just had to have. Ike was ordained in December of 2019. Reverend Dr. Cradle believes his purpose is to bring glory to God, and that the primary function of the church is to be God's reflection on earth. Join me in welcoming my special guest, my brother in law, Dr. Ira Cradle. Welcome, Ira.
To God be the glory. It's good to be here, sis.
To God be the glory. Yes, I'm so glad that you agreed to have this conversation. It's so important, particularly for African American men. As you know, 1 in 6 African American men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, compared to 1 in 8 overall. Black men are 1.7 times more likely to die from 1.7 times more likely to be diagnosed, and 2.1 times more likely to die from it than white men. 58% of prostate cancer is driven by genetic factors. Some prostate cancer genes can cross over into your daughters and show up as breast, ovarian, or colon cancer. And daughters are at an elevated risk of getting these cancers. So, Ira, thank you again for coming on to have this conversation with me. And I will start by asking you, before you received your diagnosis, did you have any symptoms? And if you did, what were they?
I think I had the typical symptoms of an aging male, where we have to get up in the middle of the night, keep going to the bathroom. Uh, I was diagnosed with an enlarged prostate, so that was fairly common, and that was the only thing that I had, other than the fact that I knew two of my brothers, my older brothers, had experienced prostate cancer. So I was kind of like, okay, you're next in line. But at the same token, I was thinking to myself, well, you've been pretty active. You served in the military, and you had a pretty good, I would say, a rigorous physical training uh, habit or routine. And so I felt like I might would be able to dodge the bullet, but obviously that didn't happen.
Okay. And so, when the doctors informed you of your diagnosis, what were your immediate reactions or thoughts?
Well, the first diagnosis was kind of surprising because I had gone through the biopsy, and so I knew basically from some family members who are in the medical field what to expect. And so I wanted to be armed when I went to see the urologist and hear what my actual diagnosis was. So I felt like, yeah, they're going to tell me that I do have prostate cancer. What I didn't expect was the VA urologist telling me, today is not a good day for you. And just as blunt as I just said it. And he said, not only do you have prostate cancer, but you have stage 4 prostate cancer, meaning that it had already spread outside of the prostate, which is really not a good diagnosis because my life expectancy at that point, because I had Googled, and you got to be careful when you're Googling because it can really mess you up. But I started thinking, wait a minute, that means I only have about 5 years,
Mm,
max left. And so when he said it, I tried to take it pretty good. I kind of smiled, but knowing in the back of my head that, okay, this is going to be different than your brothers, and of course, Sharon was with me. I thank God for her. And she didn't take too kindly how the doctor presented it to me, but nevertheless, it was presented. Now, the good thing about that is I was smart enough to share that diagnosis with some family members. And what happened immediately after that, within a couple of days, I had about 40 or so family members, uh, folks that were part of the clergy. My own pastor was on as well, and his wife, Reverend Donna, my former spouse, Reverend Stephanie, my cousin, Reverend Val, her husband, Reverend Rodney, and all those folks got online with the rest of the family, as you probably remember, and they prayed. And I'm gonna tell you, you talking about, and I'm not just saying this just to be saying it, just because I'm a member of the clergy, but my faith was expanded so much during that time because I witnessed the power of prayer. And immediately following that, I went back to the doctor. I actually uh, went on a humbug to Walter Reed trying to get a second opinion while Sharon was up there. She had an appointment. I was just going to take my paperwork from the VA down on the third floor to ask some questions and try to set up an appointment. Well, I ran into this squared away nurse, and she said, "Okay, fine. Appointment is fine, but who told you you had stage 4 prostate cancer?" And I was like, "Well, that's what this paperwork says." And then she starts saying, "Well, this could be this, and this could be that." And I had spots on my ribs, I had spots on my pelvic area, I had a spot, I had lesions on my kidneys, and so she said, "Well, that could be anything." And so immediately my confidence started to improve, and I was saying, "This ain't nothing but God." But
mm-hmm,
let me back up just slightly. I did not know that when I went down to the oncologist, try to see the oncologist, that I would run into a prostate center
mm.
that's located at Walter Reed. So those folks were certainly prepared and highly skilled and highly trained to deal with my situation.
Okay, and so I want to delve a little bit into having those conversations with family members
Hmm.
because that can be tough. Um,
Hmm.
and more specifically, having that conversation with your mom and understanding that she had already had that conversation with two of her sons.
Hmm.
And so having that conversation with her, how was that conversation?
Well, my mom is a prayer warrior, so uh, I think she had already given it up to God, and she was pretty. Uh, she handled it pretty well because of her faith. And to tell you the truth, uh, when she showed up, because my journey was going fairly well, I elected to take the prostatectomy. That's the surgery to get the prostate removed. And so I said, I just don't want any cancer in me, in my body. And uh, unfortunately, I experienced a serious health challenge. On the 10th day, when I was supposed to get my catheter out, I had a pulmonary embolism. Now, that caused me some serious problems. And as you know, had it not been for Sharon being at the house at the time, it was 2 o'clock on the morning that I was supposed to get uh, my catheter out. And again, everything was going well. The surgery went well. I was recovering well. And then I had the pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot. I thought I had a cramp. And so I got up to try to walk. And I said, this is not working. When I got up, she got up to go to the bathroom, thank God. And as I was walking back to the side of the bed, Sharon was coming out of the bathroom, and that's when the PE hit. And of course, that was the blood clots in my lung. And now that I know what was going on, but at the time I didn't. It was just like a light switch, and I just went out like that. Immediately crashed my knees. I got bad knees anyway for jumping out of one too many airplanes. But it was like, I think had I not hit my knees so hard, and had she not been there walking out of the bathroom at the time that I went down to keep me from my head from falling back on the floor, the situation could have been a lot worse. So she propped me up on my knees along the bed to make sure that I was leaning forward, and and I regained consciousness slightly. So I was semi-conscious, and I could hear her on the phone talking to the paramedics, and I knew something wasn't right. And all I could ask her to do was just help me get off of my knees, because my knee, it was just excruciating pain, and I think that pain really allowed me to kind of come back to some kind of semi-consciousness. But by the time the paramedics got there, they were I knew something was wrong, because I have high blood pressure, and I heard that low number, the second number, being something over 30, and I knew something was wrong then.
Okay, tell us a little bit about the conversation that you had to have with your baby girl.
Wow, that was uh, that was awesome, because she showed me a faith that I didn't realize that she had. You
Mm,
know, you think your daughter's listening to you, and uh, because of the way we raised her, uh, sometimes I felt like I didn't give her a chance to kind of be a kid. I wanted her to be a kid, but we always had these serious conversations, because I felt like I really didn't know how long. This had nothing to do with cancer. You just don't know how long you're going to be around as a parent. So you try
mhm,
to pour into them. But when I shared the diagnosis and everything with her, especially at the time I experienced the pulmonary embolism, and I ended up in ICU. We had another conversation, and that was a conversation that surprised me, because she kind of, yeah, she just played it off like, yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, this is serious business. She was like, God is not going to take my dad away from me. And I was
mhm.
like, whoa. And it was already like in her mind. She had already prayed about it. You know, she was settled about it. Like, nah, this ain't gonna happen. And so I'm thinking, wow, what faith?
I remember when you were in the ICU and Alyssa showed up and she said exactly that. She was like,
Hmm.
"My daddy's gonna be fine," and
Hmm.
I think because we had been at the hospital for a while, when she showed up, that was a light that we all needed.
Hmm.
Um, and so I can only imagine, the types of conversations that you and Sharon has had
Hmm.
throughout the process, because as a couple, this impacts you all and everybody in your circle, right?
Hmm.
And so when you were in the ICU, or even before they took you into the IC, after they took you out of the ICU and you was at Maryland Southern Hospital,
Oh
and
my God,
I remember that they were giving you these blood thinners,
absolutely.
and those were causing you some significant pain.
I
And
had a Job experience. not to cut you off. I was just, oh
Oh, no,
my God,
it's all good. And
that
I
that was
remember,
a rough night. Hmm.
that, when the decision was made to take you back to Walter Reed, they stopped giving you those blood thinners and you seem to have gotten better. But when you got to Walter Reed, they started giving you the blood thinners again, and the
Yep.
pain came back. And it was just so devastating to see you in that condition. And so, my question is, how important is it to advocate for yourself? Because you did a lot of
Mhm.
advocating for yourself.
Oh yeah. While I was conscious, I tell
Yeah.
you, you had to be after that experience at Southern Maryland. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was going to be fine, but they put me on heparin, and I didn't know that I was allergic to it,
Mm,
and my bladder started going bad, and it started affecting my kidneys, and then the area where the surgery took place was all this stuff. I was actually, my stomach was bleeding, so everything, all the organs, it's just blood going in there, and things were shutting down. And I was in so much pain. I'd never experienced this kind of pain before. And so I'm thinking, something's wrong, something's not right. And they didn't know what it was at the time, but they kept giving me morphine and all this stuff. And yeah, ordinarily that would do the trick, but I could not sleep. I spent about 6 to 8 hours really in some excruciating pain. And by the time uh, the urologist came in, he said, "Look, we're not equipped. We got to get you to Walter Reed." And they put me in an ambulance, and Sharon and I went up to Walter Reed, and it was like day and night. I'm not nothing against Southern Maryland, but when I arrived at Walter Reed, I knew I was in good shape until the nurse, the young Army captain, says, "Hey, we're gonna put you on heparin." I'm saying, "Whoa, wait a minute, no, no, we just," and there wasn't an exchange of information. And so you're right, you have to advocate for yourself. And this guy was so adamant. He looks at me and with a stern shout, "Sir, we're trying to save your life." I'm like, "No, you're not with that heparin." And so I went out, and all I know is I'm glad I was at Walter Reed, because when the lights went out on me again, and my surgeon would call me his miracle child, because or I should say patient, because I think they lost me. Anytime the attending surgeon tells you the next morning you try to die on me, you know something was going wrong. But these guys, they got me into into emergency surgery, and knew everything that was going on. Again, I resumed semi consciousness, and the guy was trying to show me on the screen how they were. I mean, it was like a little needle like vacuum cleaner sucking the large blood clots out of my lungs. And I
mm,
could see this, and they put in some kind of I can't think of the name of it right now, but anyway, it would block the clots from coming up from your leg into your lungs. It was like a filter, and they knew exactly what to do. So that started me on my recovery journey. However, those who saw me early on knew it didn't look good,
it did
and
not.
so so it was nothing but the grace of God.
Yes, Trina said it's called a stent.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just remember us, going up to Walter Reed from Southern Maryland, and you was just in so much pain, and you kept telling the doctors something
Hmm.
is wrong. This medicine is causing me too much pain. Something is wrong. And at first they tried to tell you that this was the only blood thinner that they could give you, and you
Right.
kept saying, "No, you can't give me no more of that. I'm not taking no more of that." and
That's right.
and it was, for me, I found a lot of strength in watching that, and watching you advocate for yourself and being insistent, because a lot of times doctors think they know best, right? And they were trying initially to convince you that this was the best thing for you. And then I distinctly remember, and I watched my sister through this. And I distinctly remember you were laying in the bed, Mama Becky was there, and you looked over at Sharon and you just said, Sharon, please help me.
Hmm.
Wipe me out. And
Hmm.
I just watched my sister stand there strong. I know she wanted to break down, which she eventually did a little bit later. But in that moment, I watched the strength that God put into her so that you wouldn't see her breaking down and then it have a ripple effect. And so I just thought that was such a powerful moment that it just stuck in my mind forever. And so being an advocate for yourself is so important because you know what's going on in your body. And then watching Mama Becky come in and pray over you and sing to you. And she said, and I remember Mama Becky saying, um, if this is the Lord's will, I'm okay
Hmm.
with it.
Hmm.
That's some powerful stuff. When your
Oh,
faith
yeah.
is that strong and you can say, I'm okay with it, that also taught me, how strong your faith needs to be. And I
Oh,
know
yes.
your is always strong. And so talk to us about you briefly mentioned two of your older brothers having been diagnosed with prostate cancer. With prostate cancer being 58% driven by genetics, talk to
Hmm.
us about, like where it stemmed from. Where did it start? What's the first time you heard of somebody close to you in your family that you shared genetics with who was diagnosed with prostate cancer?
Well, actually, it was my father, and him not being willing to talk about much and share his information. We really didn't know until I think uh, until my second to the oldest brother experienced prostate cancer. And then we started saying, well, wait a minute, you need to be telling people because obviously uh, we, I think we're pretty good at going to the doctor. So that may have helped with early detection as well. But we could have been a little bit more, um, I would say, aware and a little bit more uh, forceful in really looking at or requesting tests, PSA tests, and things of that nature. Because you got to understand, they had stopped giving the test because, and especially in the military or the military hospitals, because there was a period of time, a couple of decades ago, I would say, that the numbers, people that had high PSA scores were having surgeries that they didn't need. And then
Mm,
people that had low scores, they were finding themselves later on with stage 4. And
mm.
so there was a little bit of issue about, well, we're not even going to test people unless they specifically request it. And so after my both of my brothers experienced it, I was adamant about, hey, look, I need to take this PSA. I don't care what. And thankfully, uh, I have a good doctor at the VA, Dr. Vassal, and she's awesome. And she's part of that crew that kind of saved my life because she immediately sent me over when she saw the numbers. And these were, normally when you have a PSA score of 6 or above 6, that's when people start getting alarmed. Mine was like 5 or in between 5 and 6 at the time. And because it had jumped from 3, we were going through COVID and everything, and I hadn't been tested in a while. She said, well, we need to go get checked out. And then I went and got checked out, and that's when they did the biopsy and everything and discovered it.
Okay, so just so that our audience is clear about what this process is, and it's extremely important for our African American men in our lives to get tested. And
Absolutely.
um, Jim, my husband, had been tested in the past, but it had been several years since he got tested. And after you got your diagnosis, I was like, "Nah, brother, make an appointment right now." Because what we not get ready to do is have it and not know it. And so
Absolutely.
it's just so important. So talk to us. You mentioned the PSA score. So you get your prostate exam, and then from that exam, you get a PSA score.
Yeah, yeah. The PSA is the blood test.
Okay.
Now and then you can get the digital exam. That's the finger, and nobody likes that. And they're trying to look for an enlarged prostate or some abnormalities in the prostate. But after that, there was another test, and that was a PSMA test that uses this polarify. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the chemical name correctly,
Hmm.
but that gives the doctor uh, a really good picture on whether or not the cancer has spread. And that was my saving grace. That confirmed it for the folks at Walter Reed that it hadn't spread, and that's when we elected to go with the surgery.
Okay. And then the surgery was to do what?
The surgery was to remove the prostate. It was like a robotic surgery, and they try to save as many of the nerves as possible because, and that's the thing that a lot of brothers get concerned about. Uh, how am I going to be able to perform sexually? If I go through this prostate surgery, or if I mess around and discover that I have a prostate cancer, I'd rather not even know. And then certainly their lives can get cut short because they're worried about the wrong thing.
Right, because you won't be able to perform sexually if you're not here.
That's right, absolutely. So So we elected to do that, and we just trust in God that our surgeons were skilled enough, and they did real good.
Okay, and then let's fast forward a little bit. Um, Once you got out of the hospital, out of Walter Reed after coming from Southern Maryland, what other types of treatment have you had to have?
Okay, about a year later, they saw my numbers. Normally after the surgery, your PSA should be about 0.0, and they saw my numbers creeping up. They never got past 1, but they started creeping up from a point 0.3 to a point. They got up to about point 0.9, and so the doctors were thinking that, you know what, maybe during the surgery we might have left some traces of the cancer that are undetectable, that was
Mm.
undetectable. And so what we want to do is make sure that the cancer will not come back. We're going for the cure, as they told me, and they said, look here, we want to do radiation, and we want to do hormone therapy. Now that occurred last fall, and it really set my recovery back a little bit. But again, I didn't want to be around here some months later saying, I should have did this, I should have did that, and then the cancer comes back. And
Hmm.
as you're fully aware, we've lost quite a few friends and family members who the cancer just came back. And 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 that's the other thing I discovered. Once you get diagnosed with prostate cancer, it's a lifetime journey after that, because
Hmm.
it could always come back. So I wanted to do everything I could to make sure that I could do, well, the things that I could control to be here for my family.
Okay, so the radiation, what was that journey like? Like, how often
Whew.
did you have to go? Like, what did it do to your body?
Oh my gosh, it was and I will say this because I would go to radiation every day, and I think it was about, gosh, 30 something treatments, about 32 treatments. And we would have to take the ride to Walter Reed uh, every day. I thank God for Sharon. And on the days where she couldn't make it, uh, certainly my brother Marv was there throughout the whole journey. And on the days when he couldn't make it, uh, Jabron, I thank God for the VSU family. Made sure he was there. My cousin Michael was there, and my niece was there when I rang the bell. But radiation is a journey in itself, and just to have the things you have to go through, to your bladder has to be full so that they won't destroy any other organs. That's to keep
Mhm.
uh, keep your stomach. It's really to make sure that certain organs won't be affected. So they want your bladder full. So you're sitting there with a full bladder, waiting to go into the room, and you get the radiation treatment. Of course, the treatment is not it doesn't hurt or anything, but just to be on that machine every day, taking that 45 minute to an hour drive up to Walter Reed, it can be exhausting. But when you're there, and that's the thing about Walter Reed and being a former soldier, you always see somebody worse off than you.
Mm,
And the ladies that were going through radiation at the time, and another gentleman was going through radiation for brain cancer,
mm,
and he came out and rang the bell, and he told the people, he said, yeah, that bought me about 3 more months. And I'm thinking, we're getting ready to celebrate. And he just said it bought him 3 more months. So, and then the ladies that were going through radiation, they were also going through chemo.
mm.
So they would come there already with, just looking exhausted, you know. And so with all that going on, you try to maintain, and that's the key. Whenever you're experiencing something like this, you have to maintain a positive attitude, and yet and certainly my faith was strong, so we got through that. Now the hormone therapy journey was a little bit different.
Mm. Okay, before we go to the hormonal therapy, the radiation, you know, people who have not experienced anybody with cancer or had it themselves, we hear about radiation, we hear about chemotherapy, but is radiation dispersed via IV or what is that?
It's really like a laser, you're setting on the machine, and it's a laser focused radiation to a certain area. They would isolate on the prostate area itself. So they mark you up uh, a couple weeks before or days before. They mark your body so that when you come in there for radiation treatment, you're basically, all they have to do is align your body based on the markings, so that they will be, you're not there all day trying to get lined back up, so that the laser will focus directly on the area where the prostate was removed.
Is it a machine like when you get like an MRI? Like what kind of machine is it?
Yeah, it's very similar to that, but it's a machine that kind of rotates around your body.
Mm,
You're you're not necessarily in a tube, but you're on a table, and this machine is rotating around your entire body, and it's just radiating that that laser focused area on the area where your prostate was.
okay. And tell us about the hormonal therapy. What was the
My
purpose of
God.
it? And what was it? What is it supposed to do?
The, well, testosterone is a it feeds cancer.
Mm,
So, the hormone therapy is to try to lower your testosterone. So obviously, now you got female hormones going into you,
mm,
and the side effects of that is it's kind of funny, but you gain a new found respect for ladies going through the change, because
mm.
those are the side effects that you're going to experience. You're going to experience fatigue. You're going to experience weight gain. You're going to experience the hot flashes, and those hot flashes, I'm telling you, this and it's fading off a little bit, but yeah, certainly, you got to be ready. What do you say all the time? You stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Get ready.
That's it. So, but I thought as Sharon was going through menopause, as a spouse, you try to be understanding, but in the back of your mind, you're like, gosh, man, 1 minute you're hot, next minute you're cold. You're doing all that. But I have a newfound total respect for what women go through, and certainly my symptoms have gotten a lot better, and they prepare you. I don't want anybody to think it's all, man, I don't want to go through all that, But they give you a series of shots, about 2 months apart, something like that. And you know, it's supposed to not last that long, but when you get that stuff in your system, you have to work your workouts,
Hmm.
because the hormonal sweat is not the sweat that you need. You need to have a workout sweat to kind of get that stuff out of your system. And
Hmm.
so we certainly been doing that with the walks and a little bit of uh, calisthenics that I can do, and trying to get that. The symptoms are now waning a little bit, so
Hmm.
the hot flashes are a little bit fewer and far between now. But initially, man, they were coming like it seemed like every half hour, and so but you're grateful. I mean, I walk in a spirit of total gratitude all day, every day.
Okay. And so what is the plan of action going forward for you?
The plan of action going forward is simply to monitor through your PSA, your blood test, every 6 months, and you certainly you're trying to get your libido back and all of that. So I'm just trying to keep it real with the brothers out there, because but there's hope. You know what I mean? It's not like um, I would tell you. Uh, One of the things, and I don't want to get too explicit here, but I think fellas need to know. I want to keep it real for them. You will not have an ejaculation anymore.
Mm,
However, you will have an orgasm.
mm.
And man, when I when I felt, I was like, hey, this all okay. And the nurses and the doctors is
I take it.
yeah, yeah. So it's all good, they're real good at taking you through the process. We had a full day course, Sharon and I, for couples, and they let you know, they give you what things could possibly happen, and things to expect, and our journey has been pretty good, I think, considering everything. uh, we're fortunate, and like I said, they save the nerves, and we making it happen. So uh, again, the hormone therapy will set you back a little bit, but it's all recoverable. You're all I'm just glad to be here, and like I said, hey, you can still have and like I was you ready to say, the crew over there will help you understand that the the ejaculation piece is really not that important at a certain point. I
Hmm.
don't know for your partner. So I'm like, you know what? We're not trying to have any more babies, but to know that you still can have an orgasm, and hey,
And
it's all good.
that to me, Ira, I really thank you for sharing that, because
Mm-hmm.
that to me is so important for men to know, because as you know, as a man,
Mm-hmm.
everything started and end with sex.
Yeah.
And so, to know that, there are other ways to be pleasured
Mm-hmm.
through the process, and it is not a reason not to get checked, and not a
Absolutely.
reason not to follow through if you test positive
Mm-hmm.
for prostate cancer.
Absolutely.
Your family would much rather have you around not
Mm-hmm.
having sex than have you dead and not having sex. Because,
Absolutely.
you know, it
Hey.
is what it is. And so I just think that that part is a part of the conversation that you rarely see or hear. And so, again, we hear these terms, hormonal therapy and radiation and chemo, but unless you've been through it, you don't necessarily know what it is unless you take
Mm-hmm.
it upon yourself to research it. So, with hormonal therapy, is that a pill? Is that something they give you through IVs? Like, how do you receive hormonal therapy?
That's a butt injection. It's a
Oh,
shot. Oh my God. And sometimes I think they may be putting a little bit too much in that little valve. But nah, again, life is starting to get a little bit normal now. My cravings are going down a little bit, and I'm trying to work on the physical fitness piece. And I
Mm-hmm.
thank God for that. Having, uh, you know, I got a bad back, 3 back surgeries. I got a bracket on my back. I got bad knees, but I still can do certain things. And I think being somewhat physically fit initially,
Mm-hmm.
and my body has adapted pretty well. And I'm still doing my push-ups and sit-ups. But as you age anyway, you lose some muscle mass. So, I'm just trying to handle the journey as best as I can. And I got a great partner, so we
So,
walk.
do they recommend a specific diet um, or eating habits?
Oh yeah, yeah. They try to get you a nutritionist and all those things, but again, when you get those cravings, you get those cravings, and they come, and you just conscious of it. Like, and we also fight other uh, diseases and illnesses as well. You try to lower that sugar intake,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been trying to. I had a we had a health fair a couple of weeks ago, and that really woke me up and said, wait a minute, guy, you about to blow up here, and you start feeling it around your suits and everything. And I don't want to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe because right now things are getting a little bit better. I'm starting to lower my intake of sugar, and I can see the difference already. So
And the
we're
way your
dealing with
wife like to shop, I don't think both of y'all can do that.
that's right. That's right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
let me just read a couple of these comments we have here.
Hmm.
Um, Kiki said, "It's nothing like a praying mom. That is for sure."
Yes.
Cookie said, "Wow, there are so many parallels, the PE included. We asked about having the prostate removed and got a different response. Maybe we should have insisted prayers are the intervention needed."
Hmm.
And Lorraine says, "The power of faith and prayer. What a God we serve." And Wilma says, "Seeing children go through is the worst."
Hmm.
Absolutely. And cousin Lloyd said, "Praying for a good outcome and full recovery."
Oh yeah.
And then Wilma says, "My dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer 25 years ago. He is now 86 and get a Lupron shot every 3 months."
Mm-hmm.
And so, as you go forward in life, you talked about how going through this process has strengthened your faith even more than what your faith was before. And being a minister, I would imagine that your faith was pretty solid. But how else have you what other kind of different perspectives on life have you seen or adopted?
Well, I'll tell you this. You remember when my mom came in there and she prayed? My mom pulled out that oil, and I was probably at my lowest.
Mhm.
And she put that cross, she uh, formed the cross with that oil on my head. And this was at the point where, as you recall, I couldn't do anything for myself. Got the
Mhm.
utmost respect for those in the health profession, but I was determined not to have the physical therapist do everything for me. I was going to show them, hey, I'm going to try to walk, I'm going to try to do this, and but after that oil, I was on a glide path to recovery. Um, my perspective now uh, is just, I'll just share this with you. As a minister, you go through moments when you just want that anointing on you all the time. You want to feel that closeness to God, and there are times when you just don't feel close. And so I would pray. You got to be careful what you ask for, but I would pray, Lord, give me a sign. Like DMX. Lord, I want to see a modern day miracle. I want to see your power. I want to witness it. You know,
Mhm.
so that my, increase my faith, help my unbelief, all those things. And he said, okay, I'll show you. I was thinking maybe he would just reveal it to me by showing me something, somebody else dealing with something. But I
Mm,
would tell you, after going through what I went through, after asking God to do these things for him, to reveal these things to me, he did it. And I I got a call from the president of Elon College, Dr. Book, just to check on me. And I was sharing with her my experience with the pulmonary emblems. And she said, you're lucky. My father died of that. And
mm,
then recently, we know Dr. King's son, Dexter,
mm-hmm,
died of prostate cancer. So, you got to catch it early, and your faith and your attitude in dealing with the disease really helps. You know,
mm-hmm.
but catching it early is the key.
And so, with it being Mental Health Awareness Month, um, what do you do to keep your mental health in check? I know you're a praying man. I know you got a strong faith, but
Mhm.
what else do you do to keep your mental health in check?
I know this may sound crazy, but my grandson is medicine for me. I mean,
Amazing.
medicine. My main man, every time I'm in his presence, I mean, he loves his papa, and it gives me strength. Uh, it's just to be surrounded by family. My focus now, my outlook on life is all about family. Uh, I've been recognized uh, throughout my life for pouring into other people,
Mm-hmm.
and so now I'm focused. People say, "Well, what are you doing with this doctorate?" Well, when they call me Doctor Ike. I don't have. I'm I'm pouring into my family. I'm trying to spend as much time with my family as possible. My mom's doing well. She's 85 years old down in North Carolina, so we try to get there as much as we can and bring her up here. We got that Ring camera is the best thing in the world because I see her every day. You know, uh, but spending time with my wife, as because one day one of you is not going to be here,
That
and
is the truth.
we've seen so many families, especially in our church, where spouses have gone and are younger than we are,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to really deal with that. And
Mm-hmm.
and certainly, I want to say this before I forget. Cookie and Noah was so just impactful and inspiring for us. When I talked to Noah, I was trying to get some insight on what I was going through and what I could expect the rest of the way. This brother spent, I know we spent at least a couple of hours on the phone just sharing with me what to expect. I mean, it was just beautiful. And then having to see them, not knowing that he'd probably or possibly gotten some bad news earlier, but during that month of April, uh, to go over and have a breakfast brunch with them at the harbor, and just fellowship. It was just it was amazing, and I'm so thankful we got a chance to spend that time because he really helped me out.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show. Let's get into it because it's just things in our community that we just don't talk about.
Hmm.
And we have to have these conversations. They don't have to be adversarial. Everybody's experience will be different, but
Yeah.
sharing your experience with somebody else can help somebody else. And so I'm thankful for Cookie and Noah being willing to share their journey with you and Sharon so that you all could at least know what's coming towards you,
Hmm.
just make you aware and know that if and when you had a similar experience, that it was not unique and you were not on your own. And so that is like so important. And so, Ira, I'm going to ask you one last question. Um, what is it that you and Sharon do as a couple
Mm.
throughout this process to keep both of your mental health in check? Because
Wow.
sometimes we can be emotional.
Hmm.
So, and I know, us ladies from the south side of Chicago, we show up hard. But when you're going through something for real in life, you become very vulnerable, and you sometimes enter a space that you're not necessarily familiar with, because everybody look to you as being this strong Black woman. And so what is it that you all do to keep both of your mental health in check?
I think we're at the point now in our relationship where we recognize, especially looking at other situations, that we only have a short amount of time on this earth. And as you say often, let the main thing be the main thing.
The main
You're
thing be
still you're still in a marriage. You follow me,
yeah.
and things will come up in a marriage, no matter what. But see, I can always fall back on uh, this person was there for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And we've been kind of there for each other for the last 20 some years, and maybe 30 years actually. And so uh, the things we do is just try to live, try to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy life as much as possible, because tomorrow's not promised to any of us. I mean, it may not be cancer returning, but anything can come up. So we try to enjoy that time that we have, recognizing that we're blessed to still be here for each other.
Mm-hmm. And that wonderful oasis that you all have out there.
I'm
Um,
sitting in it now.
helps. That surely helps. Well, thank you so much, brother in law, for sharing your journey. This has been very eye opening, and I think it gives our audience, some real insight into what this journey is like. And so, thank you again. I'm going to ask you to stand by. I'm going to
Thank you
kick
for
it.
having me.
You're
God
welcome.
bless you.
I'm going to kick into what the hell. What the hell? Did you all hear Donald Trump promise to give cops complete immunity if he becomes president again? And every time I hear a minority say that they're going to vote for Donald Trump, I'm like, what the hell? You do know that if he give cops complete immunity, you think they killing us now? You wait to see what's going to happen. And yes, it's going to touch your family. It might not be you, but it's going to be somebody you love. It's going to be somebody you know. And I promise you, you will be asking yourself, what the hell was I thinking when I went to the polls and I circled that uh bubble and said that I'm voting for Donald Trump. Donald Trump don't give a damn about none of us, not nay one of us. And he gives even less of a damn about minorities. And so if you are considering going to the polls in November and voting for Donald Trump, you need to stop yourself and ask yourself, what the hell am I thinking? How is this going to impact my kids? How is this going to impact my parents? How is this going to impact me? How is it going to impact my kids' friends? These cops are out of control. Every week, there's multiple stories about cops killing people. We just saw the story recently about these cops going and killing this airman. He was in his house, minding his own business, talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime. They show up at the wrong place, banging on his door, don't initially identify themselves. He comes to the door with his service weapon. He is not even pointing it at the cops. And what they do, they shoot him 6 times. Now, pre Donald Trump getting a second term, guess what? They may be held accountable for that. But if Donald Trump become y'all next president, because he won't be mine, y'all next president, these cops will get off scot free. You know why? Because Donald Trump want to get off scot free for everything that he's done and that he's planning to do. He wants complete immunity for cops and also for himself. but not for you. So don't get it twisted. You can mess around if you want to and try to defend yourself when he becomes the next president. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to go to jail. You know why? Because you're a minority and the immunity doesn't apply to you. So before you go to the polls and vote for Donald Trump, just stop and ask yourself, what the hell? Thank you for joining me and my special guest today. I am certainly appreciative of your support. Don't forget to go to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I wish everyone a great night. Thank you for joining and participating in Let's Get Into It. I want to thank my special guest for being brave enough to get into it. Without you, these conversations cannot happen. Remember, different viewpoints, respect, and love are the foundations of Let's Get Into It. If there's a topic you think I should discuss, drop me a recommendation. If you're interested in being my special guest, let me know because we can and will get into it. Have a great day on purpose, and I look forward to your continued engagement and support as we get into it.